So earlier this year, we did a full-on renovation to our 2004 Fleetwood Discovery RV. In today's video, we're gonna let you know how things are holding up, so stay tuned.
We are Charity, Ben, Dakota, and Trinity. We decided we didn't want to wait for a life of adventure. So in 2017, we bought our first RV and set off to live a life of travel in the USA. We've visited over 38 states in 3 years and have many more to go. Follow along to learn all the best places to see, RV and travel tips, and much more.
So we did a whole series about RV renovation when we renovated our rig earlier this year. We're about 6 months into the renovation and we've been back on the road full time for about a month. So today we're gonna take you inside and we're gonna show you how things are holding up and what we would maybe do differently if we had to do it all over again, plus some tips for you if you're considering RV renovation. So come on inside. So welcome to our home away from home. This is our 2004 Fleetwood Discovery, and I'm going to kind of just take you through some of the things we did renovation-wise and let you know how things are kind of holding up. So the first thing that we will talk about that everybody absolutely loves that we did was we put in some bunk beds. Now, thank goodness we did this very early in 2021 before the lumber prices went off of the charts, because I was looking at what 2x4s cost right now and we are in this thing for way cheaper than we would be if we were trying to buy lumber at the moment. So this particular bunk bed is made primarily from 2x4s and 2x2s, and it is actually holding up really, really well. A couple of things that we've actually now added since we've been back in our rig full time is we actually added more of these screw hooks. So at first we actually didn't have any of these, and then we realized how handy it was to be able to actually screw things into the wood. So we added more of these screw hooks for the kids' hats and sweatshirts and just whatever we end up accumulating more of, I feel like. So those have been added on since we originally did this, and everything has been holding up really, really well. We did paint this a gray color, and you can definitely see there's just some wear and tear and some smudges that we'll need to just take like a Lysol wipe or something to kind of, you know, clean it up a little bit from time to time. But overall, this particular paint has held up really, really well. We've not had any chipping or fading in the paint. The power strips that we put in for the kids to plug in all of their devices have been working fantastic, and we just zip tied them on, not had any problems with them wanting to fall off or come apart. And the kids are not exactly the easiest with like plugging things in and unplugging them. They really are kind of hard on that. One of the other things that we did when we renovated is our dinette that was here was the old style dinette that most RVs come with, where it has the drawers that pull out underneath, and the bench top was like a piece of foam essentially sitting on top of a board. This is all from RecPro, and we actually have a link below to RecPro for a 5% discount, and they make furniture specifically for RVs, which is great because it's all super lightweight. What we have here now on this slide versus what we had before is actually way lighter weight than what was here before. And part of that is because RecPro just makes a really nice lightweight product when it comes to their RV furniture products. So the nice thing about this particular bench setup is this comes off, and then for storage, you just lift this up here and you have all sorts of storage underneath of here, which makes just a way better use of the space than it does when you're using the old kind of drawer style that so many RV manufacturers put in. These are holding up very, very well. We did have one small defect with one of these benches where one of the seams came apart, and we knew it was just kind of a defect because it only happened on one, and RecPro was super awesome. I took a picture, emailed it to them. She emailed me back right away, asked where to ship a replacement. We had it shipped here to where we're mood stocking this week and put it in super easy. and it was awesome. Just a no questions asked, hey, you have a problem, we'll get you a new one out. Another huge change that we did is we got rid of the old, nasty, awful green carpet. So what we did on the floors here is we actually did a roll out sheet vinyl. We know a lot of people that are RVers that have done like the snap together wood floors. We kind of heard 50-50 about people that did that, and it worked great and lasted a long time. And then we heard like another about 50% where over time those seams would start to come apart just because there's so much movement in these rigs as you're driving down the road. So that's something to think about when it comes to any sort of flooring. So because of that, and also to just keep our costs minimal, we did a roll out sheet vinyl, and it has worked great. We've had two things that we've run into now that we've been in this for a while, and it is just on this side where the slide comes in and out. So the first one is down here. So we've got this here, and it's interesting when you pull out all the flooring of an RV during a renovation, you see how it's put together. But there are these bolts that go along both sides that bolt the floor down to the chassis. And so when the slide comes in and out, because this bolt is raised and there's not a lot we can do to get it to recess any further, it did start to tear a little bit. So we just kind of cut the rest of the flooring out that goes over the top of this bolt so that it doesn't have any more tearing or anything like that. And it's been fine since we've done that on this side here. So over on this side, we had an issue where this particular slide came in that it actually ripped a hole, and you'll have to check out our video. We'll put a video above when that happened. It was not a fun day. We actually did some talking with some other Fleetwood Discovery owners because the slide glides on these. It's not a roller, it's an actual hard piece of plastic that like slides over things. And when we went from carpet to this type of flooring, this flooring is just a little too soft, and so it wanted to rip it and it didn't want to glide over the top. So this is actually a cutting board from IKEA that we cut out because it's a harder plastic and adhere down to the floor here. And then we just cover it up with a rug when we're not moving around, so you don't even hardly see it. So those are kind of a couple of things that we ran into with the flooring that just didn't really hold up as well as maybe what we thought, but they're all pretty minor things, and we found some workarounds for those. So other than that, the flooring is still holding up great 6 months in. So the sconces that were on here stuck out from the wall, and the lights that were in them would get super hot. And so we went with these touch lights from Amazon. They're LED, so they're very, very cool as far as the actual operation. They don't get super hot, and they are very flush mount. So we'll put a link in the description below for these. These came from Amazon. Another modification that we did as part of the renovation is we did this peel and stick backsplash. So what was here before in this whole kitchen area was like this horrible mirror. I don't know who puts a mirror as their kitchen backsplash, but that's what was there. So we took all that down. We did this peel and stick backsplash from Home Depot, and it's worked great for what's here. The one area that it's not held up as well as we would have hoped is kind of in here. Now here is where I had to start getting like cutting super tiny little pieces and trying to kind of patchwork it in. And so I probably will just need to redo this at some point and use a different style adhesive to kind of try to get in here, because the biggest problem I had was trying to get it cut. I was touching the backing a lot, and if you touch the backing of anything that's adhesive, you end up getting the oils of your skin on it and the whole 9 yards. So this is the only thing that hasn't held up as well as maybe we would have anticipated, but in general, like if you were standing back there, you wouldn't even notice unless I pointed it out. So that's worked pretty well. The rest of the backsplash we absolutely have loved. No worries about bubbling or peeling or any of that. It's worked out great. Another modification that we did was we took down all the window coverings. So all the window coverings, all those horrible, ugly window boxes that they put in RVs are gone. Thank you, Lord. And for this window, which had just like a mini blind, we did this window film. And so we did this window film in the back bedroom. I'll show you in a few minutes. This is held up fantastic. No peeling, no issues with any of that at all. Couldn't be happier with the way it turned out, but also with the way that it's held up over the last 6 months. It's great, it lets in light, but I don't have to worry about anybody seeing through if we're walking through the rig in our pajamas at night or something like that. So definitely a great option there, and it makes it to where I don't have anything else cluttering up that area as far as any sort of like a curtain or a mini blind or window covering. So that has held up great, and we're really, really glad that we made that modification. So another modification was this peel and stick wallpaper. We've got these mixed tiles printed up, but this peel and stick wallpaper, we got it at Home Depot. I'll also put a link below in the description because they also carry it on Amazon. But this has held up really, really well. We had read other people that said that they had problems with it falling down over time, with heat or humidity. Our home base is in Florida, and we have been camping in Florida since we've done this renovation. We are here at the moment in Colorado, and it has been super hot here. In fact, hotter here than in Florida at the moment, which is usually the reverse. But no issues with this at all. It's held up great, no peeling, no falling down. It's on this wall here. It's all around this slide over here. So another thing that we did is we pulled these panels out of the fridge. So you can actually pull these on this particular model of the Norcold where you have the 4 doors. You can pull this trim off of the side and slide these panels out, paint them, and slide them back in. And so we actually didn't figure that out during the full-on reno. We figured it out later. So we did that right before that we went on the road. And we're really glad that we did that. Super easy, just some spray paint from Home Depot. And it was so easy, in fact, that it's like, I'm considering maybe just changing up the color every year just because I can. So anyway, couldn't be happier with how this is holding up here. So let's run back in the bedroom and talk about what we've got going on back there and how it's held up. So back here, we took down all of the window boxes, which just really opened things up and made it better. And what we did on all of the other windows that we didn't do the window film on is we just did these roller shades from Home Depot. And so these are actually blackout shades. So they really block light nicely. They're very lightweight. They're very easy to use. They cut them to fit to the size that you need it to be. And so it works really well for RVs because you just measure what you need and then you have them cut it to fit. So easy to kind of customize. We painted all of the walls white. That paint is holding up great. No issues with anything there. I put these bamboo boxes up here with nano tape. Put a link in the description below. The nano tape has been my new RV best friend. So I put these up here with nano tape. I put nano tape on each side where they meet the wall. They've stayed. No issues with falling. I've got some heavier contact solution in here and everything's been great, which is great because then on travel days, it just makes the pack down process a little bit less because I have less things to put away. This can stay there during a travel day. It's not gonna move. So that's been great. We did a new faucet here. So the counter, everything's original. The faucet is new. That's been holding up great. Ben must have done a great job on the install because we've had no leaks. So he's becoming handier every day, people. And then we left the cabinetry the color that it was. So it's a little bit lighter wood color. It's not as drab and dark as you find in some RVs. And painting cabinetry in an RV is a ton of work. We had an RV before this one that we did a renovation on, and we painted all of the cabinetry, and it wasn't as big as this, and it was a crap ton of work, and I'm not sure I would do it again unless there is a huge compelling need to do so, which isn't going on in here because this is a lighter wood. So we just left that as it was and painted the walls to kind of brighten things up instead of painting the cabinetry to brighten things up. This mattress is probably the best $300 we ever spent. This is a memory foam mattress that we got off of Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below for this. This has been the most amazing thing. And I think each night that goes by that we sleep on it, actually, it gets probably more comfortable. In fact, so much so that I think this is way more comfortable than the bed we even have at our home base. So we may be having to upgrade the mattress on that to this because this is actually nicer. So On this back window, we did the window film, and we did that window film because we didn't want curtains on that back window where we're going to be laying at night trying to read a book, or on occasion we'll watch this TV that's up here. But with any sort of curtain there at all, even if we did the roller shade and then you pull that down, you're laying against it and you're crushing it and it's hitting your head when you sleep at night. And so, you know, our first thought would be to get rid of the window and to just board it in and insulate it, but it's the only emergency exit that's back here. So for safety, you can't do that. So putting that window film on there and having that on there instead has been the best. And then at night, if we're in a place where there's a lot of light or there's lights in the campground, we just have a piece of Reflectix that's kind of cut to fit in there, that goes in there. So that's one thing we did learn on our very first trip out after the renovation, is like, wow, there's a lot of light that comes in here at night. So quick piece of Reflectix, and that was all that needed to happen there. Up here, we've got these boxes. I've got several of these boxes from Hobby Lobby, and this was like the best Hobby Lobby find ever. But I've got these here. I've got two on my side of the bed, one down over here. Again, nano tape for the win, and to just put these where they are up with nano tape, and to be able to put whatever you would put kind of like on a nightstand at home in those instead. And it's been great. They've stayed on the walls, no issues there. I did have a small issue where the larger box on my side did want to start to fall, only because I put some really heavy books in it. So don't put heavy books in it. But other than that, everything else that goes in there, my phone, my essential oils, everything, it's stayed up great. And as long as you don't have anything super, super heavy in there, you're good, which we usually use these for things like a remote control or your phone at night or lighter objects anyway. So those have worked absolutely wonderful since we put those up, and no issues there. We've got the button lights back here too. So those have been great. We've been really impressed with how things have held up so far. Just a few kind of minor things, really more so on the floor. But that's been the only thing that's kind of like, wow, this just didn't hold up the way that we thought that it would. One more thing that we did just to help with the whole storage situation, we went back and forth on this couch, whether we wanted to replace this couch as part of our renovation or not. This is the original couch that was original to the RV. And because this particular slide is not as deep as the slide that we have the Bunks and the Dinette on, it was hard to find a couch that would fit even from Rec Pro, just because it was so narrow. We shopped IKEA. We looked at a ton of different options to see if there was something that would work to replace this. And we just couldn't find anything that we really were super crazy about. So we left this original, but because we wanted to create more storage, and when you're full-timing with 2 kiddos and 3 animals and a bunch of photography and videography equipment, everything, you need as much space as possible. So this whole front was just one solid piece. And it really wasn't meant to come off. It really wasn't meant for anything other than just to be able to access the heating ductwork that's under here if you needed to, or the seat belts that were under here if you needed to. So we actually modified this to be able to come off with a hinge. And so we actually took this off and cut right here and added a hinge so that this can swing out. And then right now the TV is underneath of here just because we've got it pulled down to work on some stuff there, and some various bins with cords and things. All of our duct work is still under here, so it can flex and move as it needs to. But this was a great way for us to be able to like add storage that wasn't even really meant to be storage. And it just took a quick little mod of adding kind of a hinge in here and a little bit of forward thinking about how can we modify this to be able to give us more space. So that's what we did here. And then one more thing to note here on the flooring is this is actually like a stair nose. And so for this particular slide, because this slide doesn't sit flush, we just put a stair nose on here that kind of matched the flooring, and it worked out perfect. So that sits on the front of this instead of having kind of the raw wood that was on here once that we took the carpet off of this slide as well. And it's held up great. We used some liquid nails and we used some clamps when we installed it to get it to stay. And it hasn't shifted or wanted to come off or anything of the sort. So 6 months in, and it's totally held up great. So we're loving that. So a few tips about RV renovation that we're going to share with you. Number one, I would not recommend trying to live in your RV while that you're renovating it. We pretty much had this thing mostly gutted from nose to tail. So we also had to repair some water damage on the walls that we found while we were in the renovation process. For us, it would have definitely not been feasible to be living in it while we were renovating it. So that is tip number one. So tip number two, make sure that you are someplace where you have access to tools, and of course the power to run said tools. So you're going to need some tools if you're going to do an RV renovation. Some things that we found that we needed were things like sanders, and then of course drills, which we had on hand, a table saw, some other just miscellaneous things that we needed to be able to make this particular thing happen. Tip number three is don't be on a tight timeline. Give yourself plenty of time, especially if you are renovating a rig that's a little bit older. We ran into a couple of different places where we found water damage, and then we went to repair that water damage and went to go retest our repair and found that there was still water leaking, and it took several days of trial and error between sealing things up and retesting. And so not having any specific timeline that we needed to be on other than, you know, leave by May, and we started in January. So pretty broad timeline of really what we needed to do to be able to get this thing done. But it was 100% worth it. We've been back on the road now for just a little over a month, and this has made RV life so much easier. Everybody has more of a dedicated space. Things are just flowing better as far as where things go, and we don't feel like we're tripping over things as often or things like that. So it was 100% worth it. And we highly recommend, when you're looking for an RV, even if it's something that doesn't fit what you need right then, don't be afraid to jump in and make some modifications to really make it work for what it is that you're needing. So if you have any questions below about our renovation or our experience during the renovation, definitely drop those in a comment below. We would love to answer any questions that you have on that. We're definitely not full-on experts, but we did learn a few things along the way. So we're happy to share our knowledge with all of you guys out there as well. So if you have not yet checked out our Patreon page, we definitely encourage you to do that. We've got some fun giveaways that we're doing over there on a monthly basis, and it just gives us an opportunity to be able to interact with you on a little bit more of a personal level. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can check it out at the link below. And if you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and make sure that you give us the thumbs up button if you found this video helpful in any way at all. If you'd like to see more videos about RV tips and tricks, you can click over here. And if you'd like to see the full renovation series, you can click right over here. Until next time, we'll see you on the road.